Hello, good afternoon from the Dudley Wood Stadium, Cradley, Heath, here in the heart of the Black Country, for the first in this 5-test series between England and the world champions of Speedway from Denmark. In the 5 years since this series started, England has won 4 times, but last year the Danes took their revenge in a dramatic last heat on this very track.
Number 1 goes straight into the first turn with no brakes. 2 riders from England, 2 riders from Denmark. And from the outside of the track, the world champion Erik Gundersen. Oh, at the back, Carl Blackbird is down for England. He's got a problem, and England's Kenny Carter is leading the world champion. Carl Blackbird has scrambled clear of the track, and Gundersen has gone around the outside of Kenny Carter. Denmark already showing to advantage. The world champion streaking away. Kenny Carter in second place, the remaining England rider, his partner Carl Blackbird, tumbling on the first turn, and little Jan O. Petersen now chasing Carter. Denmark are already firing on all cylinders. Petersen on the inside, through past Carter immediately, and Denmark have a lead first and second across the yellow flag with 1 lap to go. They're already in a maximum heat advantage. 5 points is the maximum heat advantage. The winner in a speedway race gets 3 points, second man home 2, and the third rider 1, and Denmark have 3 plus 2, that makes 5, and England have the worst possible start. They have only 1 point over an 18 heat match, which showed that the world champion this afternoon is prepared to come from the back to win his races. And in heat number 2, England's captain Simon Wigg, who will be wearing a red helmet, attempts to salvage his situation for his side. Already controversy has reigned at this match. Before a wheel was turned, the Danes insisted that British League tyre regulations, which means that every rider in every race races on the same manufacturer of tyre, the Danes wanted freedom of choice. They have been allowed freedom of choice, and every rider therefore can choose any tyre he wishes. But that was the Danes' psychological win in the dressing room, and in heat number 1 they had a more definitive win. Simon Wigg and his partner in the blue helmet, who is Phil Collins, a home track rider here at Cradley Heath, have Danish Preben Eriksson in white. He's the rider in the second gate from the left, and on the inside Jon Jorgensen of Denmark. This would be the pairing that Denmark must expect to lose points against. This is an important one for England to gain an advantage. And as the tapes go up, it looks as if Eriksson, the rider drafted from the reserve berth, has gained an advantage. He's wearing the white helmet, and if that's the standard of the Danish reserves, look out England. Simon Wigg in the green leathers and the red helmet, England's captain, is battling. He's battling hard behind Eriksson, his partner Phil Collins holding the inside line, and Wigg now trying himself on the inside. But Eriksson, the Wolverhampton rider, drafted in at the last minute to replace the injured Tommy Knudsen, is the man of the moment. 2 laps gone, and he leads for Denmark. The points situation from this particular heat currently shared at the back. Jon Jorgensen making no impression on Phil Collins. Simon Wigg making no impression for England on the leader, Preben Eriksson. Eriksson again leads over the yellow flag with 1 lap to go. Wigg still chasing hard, and now Jorgensen making an impression, chasing hard on Collins. The positions are still held. It's Preben Eriksson of Denmark maintaining his country's superiority. The second race, the second Danish heat victory. Preben Eriksson from the reserve berth to the heat leader role, vacated by Tommy Knudsen, who's out with injury, and Eriksson comes good. Denmark's 3 points from heat number 2, giving them 8 in total, and England have 4. It's already looking as if Denmark's superiority in World Speedway terms is about to be emphasized this afternoon. England must do better. The man of the moment for heat number 3 is Chris Morton. He's 29. He is the oldest rider in either side today, and this is a proud moment for him. It's his 100th cap for England. Born in Manchester 29 years ago, a former British grass track champion, Christopher John Morton is a proud man today. Captain of the Bellevue Club. In fact, he'll be racing later tonight against Cradley Heath at the Manchester track. The professional speedway rider has a busy life. Chris Morton, who many times in the past has inspired England to victory after they've been in trouble, could be the man to spark the fire again. He's got some important opposition. He's got the man they call the main Dane, Hans Nielsen. He's wearing the white helmet, and he'll be positioned on the left-hand side of the screen on the outside of the track at the starting gate. Nielsen's partner is Peter Rowan, wearing yellow, and Morton is partnered by Jeremy Doncaster, who's going very well. He's a Ipswich rider, born in Grimsby. He's the current holder of the Golden Helmet Match Race Championship. As we go to Heat 3, Nielsen, Doncaster, Rowan and Morton, looking from left to right across your screen. Riders concentrating, looking at the outside edge of the starting gate. If they touch the tapes, they would be excluded. And Doncaster immediately bursts to the front. The Golden Helmet holder is leading for England, and Hans Nielsen is in chase. Chris Morton is third. So England hold a heat advantage in points at this present time. And Doncaster maintaining his superiority into the second lap. He's looking very sharp indeed, but he lifts, he's out, he's fallen, and my goodness, what tremendous avoiding action by Peter Rowan. Doncaster's down on the track. The race must be stopped by referee Paul Ackroyd in the interest of safety, and immediately track staff and medical staff rush to the assistance of the fallen rider. He's down there, Jeremy Doncaster. England team manager Colin Pratt is already on the scene. Let's look at it again. Doncaster, his front wheel had lifted in his efforts to keep his back wheel, strikes the kickboard at the bottom of the safety fence, and he's going down hard. Caught with his left leg under the bike. And look at Peter Rowan in the yellow helmet. He has to straighten up and ride between the fallen rider and the safety fence. On the straight, going at approximately 50 to 60 miles an hour, he worked hard.
Jeremy, first of all, are you all right?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a headache, but I think I'll be okay, yeah.
You looked as if you're going to win that heat. Tremendous performance against Hans Nielsen. So why did it suddenly go wrong?
The machinery's been going very well, and I just moved out to the dirt line and started to pick up. As you can see, I've just started to lift here, and I've corrected it, and there's a load of loose chippings on the top, and there's nothing to keep us upright, and I just drifted towards the fence, hit the back panel, and away we went. On the ground, rolling over. I swear I bashed my head. I was lucky no one rode over the top of me, actually. Very lucky indeed.
And the rider in the white helmet, Hans Nielsen, has a second chance, a second bite at the cherry in the restart of heat number 3. He's in the favoured outside gate position. Already, the riders in the first 2 races have gained 5 out of a possible 6 points. So Hans Nielsen must be looking good against the sole Englishman, Chris Morton, as the riders come to the tapes for the rerun. Chris Morton in red, and Nielsen's partner for Denmark is Peter Rowan. The tapes go up, and immediately Nielsen roars from the outside, and he's joined by his partner. And Chris Morton, on the occasion of his 100th cap, is in the position he didn't want to be in, at the back, chasing for points. Chasing hard too. Morton, not known as Speedway's fastest starter, has a habit of gaining points from the back, one of the most exciting riders in the sport, and already he's making an impression on a former clubmate, Peter Rowan, who started his British career when he first came over from Denmark with Bellevue, later moving on to Cradley, and now with Wolverhampton. Hans Nielsen's untroubled. He's out in front, winning the race for Denmark. 3 points for a win in Speedway, 2 for the second place man, and the third man gets 1 point. Already Denmark have a 4-point advantage after 2 races, and they look like making it meet at this point. Nielsen showing the style that makes him the main Dane of Speedway today. Number 2 in the world for the past 2 years, the only rider to better him on World Championship duty is captain today, Erik Gundersen, and a spectacular mono wheel from Hans Nielsen to celebrate his victory. Nielsen shows his class, Denmark show their international ability, and England show there's a lot to be done today. 5 points of England, 13 to Denmark, 8 points already between the teams after just 3 of the 18 heats this afternoon. Heat 4 has Simon Wigg, England's captain, who was controversially off the international arena in Speedway terms last year after a ban for talking to a newspaper, was the official news on that one. He went to long track racing on the international scene and came back as the world champion. he didn't waste 1985. He hasn't really wasted 1986 either. This afternoon, he and his partner Phil Collins have been England's only success. Sharing heat number 2, they now go against the world champion, the rider in the white helmet, Erik Gundersen. And immediately, Wake shows to advantage. Collins tucks round the inside line, and the world champion is at the back. It's little Jan O. Peterson who leads. Last year he made the World Championship final. This year he's making England's pairing work for their money. The world champion is at the back. He won't like this. He's normally invincible around Cradley Heath Speedway Stadium. And the teammate of Erik Gundersen, Phil Collins, in blue, is the man keeping him at the back. Collins wiping the dirty goggles from his face with one hand as he controls his 500cc machine with just one hand going round the back straight. Still up front, Jan O. Peterson, one of the smallest riders in Speedway today. He weighs little over 7 stone. The bike hasn't to do much work. There's no handicapping in the case of this little jockey. And he's winning the race once again for Denmark. A Danish rider has won every race so far this afternoon, and despite the efforts of the England pairing, Peterson wins that one, and Gundersen withdraws on the last lap. He's not happy. He's looking at the bike, but he was at the back throughout the race, and he didn't look as if he was going to catch them up. But Gundersen's an unhappy world champion. Denmark share the race 3-3, and England maintain their deficit. They have 8 to Denmark's 16. There's still a long, long way to go.
Well, skipper Simon Wigg, what have you got to say so far?
It's an uphill fight at the moment, but we're not going to give up, and we're going to have them. You know, it really means so much to all of us today. And even though the Danes have slipped ahead now, we're not giving up, and we won't give up till we beat.
It's easy to say that, but you haven't even won a heat yet.
Yeah, but you know, we've got a bit of spirit, and you know, what can I say? I mean, we haven't won a heat yet, but hopefully it will come good later on.
But these Danes really are strong, aren't they? I mean, as soon as, say, someone like Gundersen has a bad heat, there's another rider winning it.
That's right. You know, they all are exceptionally good starters, which obviously does help their cause a lot. And you know, we just got to hope that later on in the meeting we can pop out at the start a little bit more consistently. I think if we can, then you know, there's no reason why we can't win.
Heat 5 sees Preben Eriksson leading the Danish challenge. He's the reserve rider who was brought in at the last minute to replace injured Tommy Knudsen, and he went out and won his first race in amazing style. He's wearing the white helmet. He's the second rider from the inside of the track. Looking across the track at the start now, Jon Jorgensen of Denmark. In the blue helmet, Jeremy Doncaster, who crashed when leading his earlier race. Then we have Eriksson, and on the inside, Chris Morton on his day of his 100th cap. Heat number 5, England seeking an advantage. They've got to get back into the match early or Denmark will be away. And this time it looks good. Once again, Doncaster hits the front after a battle of elbows with Eriksson. Morton is there to join him. And the Danish pair, for the first time, we see an England pairing in the lead, 1 and 2. Eriksson and Jorgensen, the two Danes at the back. Jorgensen, the rider in the yellow helmet and yellow leathers, chasing hardest on the outside of the track, but Doncaster has not repeated his earlier mistake. He's out in front and flying, and Chris Morton tucking in behind him, doing the team riding that he does so well. Noted in the sport as one of the most sporting and unselfish riders in club action, always looking for his farmer. This is what team speedway is about, the art of blocking an opposing rider, keeping them at the back and letting your partner go for glory. Going for glory, Jeremy Doncaster, tucked in behind him in the red helmet, Chris Morton, and England in a 5-1 scoring position, and this could be good. This should have the Union Jack waving throughout the stadium, or rather the St George's Cross, I suppose. Jeremy Doncaster wins, Chris Morton comes home second, and Jon Jorgensen is the third place rider, but just 1 point to Denmark. England reduced the leeway. They're 4 points behind thanks to that man there, Jeremy Doncaster. Kenny Carter leading England's challenge into heat number 6. 13 points of England, Denmark on 17. Denmark have been world champions, and they've won just about every title that's going in Speedway over the last couple of years. A tremendous credit to this squad we see this afternoon, most of whom are in their mid to early 20s and have, to a man, been brought into Speedway at an early age through the tremendous Danish youth policy that allows youngsters under the age of 15 to race on 50cc motorcycles. Just waiting for the rider in the yellow helmet, Peter Rowan, to come to the starting gate. Kenny Carter on the outside in the red helmet. As a former England captain, 25 a couple of months ago. He seems to have been around for ages. He was riding Speedway at the age of 16 at Newcastle in 1978. Since then he's been with Halifax, and now this year Bradford. A world finalist 3 times. This is his 56th cap, and he'll be leading the England Challenge. The man on the inside of the track in the white helmet will be his main challenger, Hans Nielsen of Denmark. Karl Blackbird in the blue helmet is next to Nielsen, and Peter Rowan wears yellow and black. Tremendous concentration just before the tapes go up, and Rowan shoves Carter out the way, but he himself drifts wide, and Carter cleverly switches back to get third position in the inside. And Karl Blackbird takes up the chase of Hans Nielsen, who is in his customary position when he goes racing Speedway. He's in front. Hans Nielsen, runner-up in World Championship duties twice in the last 2 years, beaten only by his countrymen, and many think that Hans Nielsen has yet got a World Championship title within him. He's popping wheelies in the middle of a race. That demonstrates the man's confidence in himself, and he's certainly riding it high, wide and handsome now. Popping wheelies down the back straight, popping wheelies in the home straight. Carter and Blackbird are nowhere. Peter Rowan at the back, however, is unable to catch the English pairing, who are sensibly now giving up the chase of Nielsen and concentrating on riding together to maintain the shared heat point situation. Nielsen will collect 3 for Denmark. Carter and Blackbird between them will have 3 as well. Carter goes across the line second. Blackbird gets third position, but once again 3 points go in the ledger against Hans Nielsen, truly the main Dane of Speedway. The 7th race, 4 points between the teams, and one of the reasons that Denmark are maintaining such an advantage in this race is not the presence of the world champion who rides in this race wearing the white helmet, but the rider in yellow and black, Jan O. Petersen. I think Speedway fans throughout the world know him as Jan O. He always signs his name such. O stands for Oswald, and today Jan Oswald Petersen, at 23 years of age, is unbeaten by an Englishman. He's at 2 races. He finished behind his partner in his first one, and he won his second one outright in fine style. He's the little man who's making a difference between these sides today. The opposition for England, provided once again by Chris Morton, who rides in the red helmet, and Jeremy Doncaster. They were the pairing who a couple of races ago brought England back from the brink of disaster. They scored a maximum 5 points to 1 heat advantage. Gundersen on the outside, Morton in the red helmet, Petersen, and on the inside Jeremy Doncaster. That moment of concentration, the teams fly up, and once again Jeremy Doncaster. 3 times he's gone to the tapes, 3 times he's hit the first turn first. This time the Danes are on his tail. Morton's at the back, and we've got an exciting race here, because Gundersen's trying the outside line, Petersen's tucked on the inside line, Morton's trying to force away between them, and Doncaster's at the front, holding them off. Doncaster riding for Ipswich. It's his only British League Speedway Cup. Gundersen on the outside, trying everything. Doncaster's riding all over the track to keep Gundersen back. Petersen snapping round the inside. He's been passed by Morton. Morton's come through. Morton's got third position, and England have a heat advantage at this time. Gundersen's not given up the fight. Doncaster leads for England, the blue helmet. Gundersen, the world champion for Denmark, right on his tail. Morton ensconced in third position, looking safe, and England are creeping back towards the Danes as the checkered flag goes out. The riders come round the last turn, and Doncaster stopped! Both England riders have stopped on the last turn. What an incredible disaster for the English riders. They had the race sewn up, and they have both stopped on the last turn. Doncaster can't believe it. I doubt if Gundersen and Petersen can believe their fortune, and Morton too has stopped. They're looking at their bikes. They don't know what's happened. What a tremendous disaster for English hopes, and 4-2 in their advantage goes to 1-5 against them, and Denmark have streaked ahead again by 8 points on the scoreline. Let's look at that incredible last turn again. Doncaster's in front, he's got no problems, he's winning the race. Gundersen behind him, Morton's in third position, and England are looking so comfortable. They're going to take a 2-point advantage indeed, and Doncaster and Morton stop their bikes, straighten up and move out towards the fence at exactly the same point. Gundersen steering over his shoulder at Doncaster, he can't understand it. Petersen, who was last, becomes second. Denmark get 5 points, and England cannot believe it. I can't believe it, and I hope that Gary Newborn in the pits can find out what went wrong in that disastrous race.
Well, it looks as if you'd won Heat 7, and it was a disaster. Jeremy Doncaster, first of all, what happened to you?
I can't believe my luck. Just on the last corner, one of the rockers just broke away. A tiny little piece like that just stopped the engine.
And Chris Morton?
Yeah, I think the piston broke up on mine. It just exploded on the last corner. Unbelievable. It's the way it goes, I suppose. That's fate.
The sad thing is it could really be a turning point in the match because you were just creeping back into it at that stage.
Could well be, yeah. I mean, obviously we're riding as hard as we can here, and obviously you're pushing the engines to the limit, which shows, you know, they're highly tuned, so when you're pushing them, things can go wrong.
It was remarkable though, wasn't it? It looked at 5-1 there.
Incredible, yeah. Not the sort of coincidence to go in for myself, though.
And immediately in heat number 8, England strike back. They've brought a reserve, and what a reserve, into the race. He's Kelvin Tatum. He'll be wearing the blue helmet. He replaces Carl Blackbird as Kenny Carter's partner. And Carter and Tatum together were in the World Pairs Championship for England last year. Tatum, in fact, was England's only world finalist at the big meeting at Bradford in August, and he comes in cold. He's been riding for Coventry this year. One or two machinery worries earlier in the year have precluded his insertion into the full team in the eyes of the management. He's now in the heat of the action. He has to link with his former World Pairs Championship partner in an effort to strike against the Denmark pairing that has always been the one that has looked most suspect. Preben Eriksson in the white helmet, second from the left in your picture, and his partner Jon Jorgensen. Jorgensen has scored 1 point. Eriksson won his first race, but then had a disappointing last position, and England have every chance. The team managers, Eric Bucock and Colin Pratt, obviously hope that Tatum can provide the spark, and he's taken the favoured outside gate position from which most points have been scored so far this afternoon. Riders starting on the outside of the track appear to be gaining the advantage. Tatum has the outside starting gate position as the riders line up for heat number 8, with England trailing by 8 points, and the riders once again concentrating on the tapes. As soon as they go, they go. And Denmark go fastest. Carter left standing at the start. Tatum, the rider who's chasing the Danish pairing. And Preben Eriksson, again, an experienced rider, unlikely to make too many mistakes. His partner on the inside, Jon Jorgensen. Tatum trying on the inside, trying on the outside. And Tatum and Jorgensen are in fact teammates at the Coventry track in British League Racing, but they're not mates this afternoon. This is a poor result for England if it stands at this one, because they're already 8 points down after the disaster in Heat 7. Heat 8 is not going the way they expected. Preben Eriksson, the owner of Speedway's most controversial van, just caught fit on the motorways, leads the race. Second, Jon Jorgensen, and now Kenny Carter taking up the challenge. Kenny Carter on the last lap taking up the challenge, chasing after Jorgensen. England number 1. Doing all he can, but he's not going to do it, and Denmark get another advantage. They go 5-1, 12 points in the lead, and heat number 8 does not go the way England might have hoped or dreamed, but Preben Eriksson is delighted with his victory. In heat number 9, the Danish team manager Hardy Jensen produces a reserve. He's Jon Eskildsen. He'll be riding in the yellow and black helmet, replacing Peter Ron, who hasn't been going so well this afternoon, but there's no doubt at all that the rider Eskildsen will be partnering Hans Nielsen, as have been going well. He's won both his previous races. He rides in the white helmet. He starts on the outside of the track. Hans Nielsen, Simon Wigg, reserve Jon Eskildsen, and on the inside Phil Collins. Heat 9. Referee holding the tapes just a little. The riders behaving themselves, and Simon Wigg hits the front. Hans Nielsen has been beaten from the start, and Phil Collins has joined him. Nielsen relegated to 3rd position, and England are firing again. Simon Wigg said they weren't giving up. He means it. He is leading, and his partner Phil Collins has 2nd position. Hans Nielsen chasing, relegated to 3rd position. He's having to eat dirt in this race. Simon Wigg has gone. He's leading the race. And his partner, Phil Collins, a home track rider here at Cradley Heath, Wigg himself rode as a partner to Phil Collins a couple of years ago for the Heathens in the Midlands. Now with Oxford Wigg, he leads his England's captain, and he's playing a captain's role in heat number 9, approaching the halfway stage in this match. Simon Wigg leading across the yellow flag. 1 lap to go. Phil Collins tucked in second position, and Hans Nielsen can do nothing about this. He's relegated to the back, and in this particular race, it looks like England, if they can get round the last corner, none of Doncaster and Morton's problems, and it's a 5-1 victory for England. The Lion and Bulldog may be making some noises on the terracing. The crowd are delighted, the riders are delighted. Wigg and Collins are delighted to reduce the leeway 31-23 at the halfway stage. England are back in the meeting. 31 to Denmark, as we can see the riders lining up for the 10th race. England represented by Kenny Carter, who wears the red helmet, just joining his 3 opponents at the tapes in the outside gate position. Next to him is the world champion, Erik Gundersen of Denmark. He's won 2 races so far this afternoon. He stopped in his other ride, but he was last at the time. In the blue helmet, Carter's partner for England is Carl Blackbird. Rides for Bellevue Aces in Manchester. On the inside, the only unbeaten rider, the only rider unbeaten by opponents so far this afternoon, the little man, 5 foot 1 inches high, 7 stone nothing dripping wet, Jan Osvald Petersen of Denmark. Very much the Danes' surprise trump card this afternoon. Tremendous concentration at the start of the speedway race. The riders must remain still. If they move forward and touch the tapes, they will be excluded from the race. The tapes go up, the riders go off, and the Danes hit the front. We've seen it before this afternoon. Gundersen and his unbeaten partner Petersen, with Kenny Carter fighting hard in the red helmet in 3rd position, chasing after Petersen. Riding hard, moving himself about on the saddle of the bike, but the world champion Gundersen is way out in front. He won't be caught. Petersen, who's written such a vital match for the Danes this afternoon, 23 years old, from a place called Middelfart in Denmark, and he's certainly blowing hot this afternoon. Erik Gundersen, the rider in the white helmet, the world champion, showing his class at the front of the field. Jan Petersen second, Kenny Carter vainly struggling to keep up. Carter, although England's #1, hasn't won a race this afternoon. He's not enjoying tasting the dirt from the Danes. He's an intensely competitive little man from Yorkshire at 25 years of age, and he doesn't like being beaten, but he's had to face it now 4 times this afternoon. The checkered flag is out. Gundersen, Petersen, Carter, and at the back, Carl Blackbird. 5 more points to Denmark, who emphasise their lead at the end of the 10th race with 8 to go, and Denmark now move into a 12-point lead, 36-24, as the Danes come home happy.
There were 2 restarts. Preben Eriksson was eventually excluded for crashing, and Simon Wigg went on to win for England. It was 4-2 that heat to England, reducing the deficit to 38 to the Danes, 28 to England.
And in heat number 12, we have Jeremy Doncaster riding in the blue helmet, and he's riding on a green bike. And for Speedway aficionados, that means it's the bike of the England captain, Simon Wigg. Simon is not just winning his races on the track for England, he's also loaning his machinery to his teammates in an effort to get them winning races as well. So Ipswich rider Jeremy Doncaster climbs on the bike belonging to Oxford team man Simon Wigg in an effort to catch up on the Danes. England trailing by 10 points as we enter heat number 12. The riders Chris Morton in the red helmet on the outside. Peter Ron of Denmark wears yellow and black. Doncaster, the man on his borrowed captain's bike, in blue. And on the inside, the one they call the main Dane, Hans Nielsen. And Hans isn't interested in coming up to the starting gate at this point. He's disobeying the starting marshal's instructions. The starting marshal indicates to the referee that he is the boss of the starting gate. And it looks like we have ourselves an interesting situation. The starting marshal has walked off the track, and the rider in white, Hans Nielsen, has been excluded for disobeying the starting marshal's instructions. This is controversial. Referee Paul Ackroyd says the marshal must be obeyed, and Nielsen is out of the race. He doesn't want to go, and all of a sudden Dudleywood Stadium has become alive. The starting marshal is in charge of the starting gate and he says that the riders must come up to the tapes when he indicates them. They must take the positions he indicates to them. Nielsen several times shook his head and refused to come to the line. The marshal walked off the track, indicated to the referee pressed the exclusion light, and Nielsen is out. The problem, of course, is that he's not going anyplace. And he and partner Peter Rowan are sitting at the starting gate. And it could well be that the referee will be forced to take greater action if his instructions are not now followed. The interesting fact is that Nielsen had been starting from the outside starting gate up till now and gaining great advantage from so doing. In this race, he'd elected to go to the inside, and he seems to have elected to end up some trouble. The photographers are gathering like vultures. The riders are coming back to the starting gate, but they won't be going any place while Hans Nielsen remains on the track. And he wants to join them. And the referee, of course, has already indicated by switching on an exclusion light that Hans Nielsen will not join them. And he now leaves the starting gate. The tapes are dropped again for a restart of heat number 12, and a match which Denmark appeared to be coasting toward victory in, with 7 races to go, suddenly becomes a little warmer. Put a replacement rider in this situation, it's much the same as if a rider had broken or touched the tapes. His replacement will be Sam Nicolaisen, currently racing his speedway in Great Britain for Wolverhampton. Nicolaisen called up at the very last minute for this afternoon's test match, wearing number 7, appearing from the pits now, 25 years old, born in Locken in Denmark, and he's probably one of the smallest riders in World Speedway. He's barely 5 feet high. He's ridden in Britain for Coventry, Sheffield, and now Wolverhampton. He also rides in the Swedish League for a club called Dakarna, and right now he's in the heat of the international action at Dudley Wood. England versus Denmark. I'll remind you that the score is England 28, Denmark 38, and the revised lineup for heat number 12. On the outside, Chris Morton gaining his 100th cap today. Then Peter Rowan, then Jeremy Doncaster and Sam Nicolaisen. Heat 12. Off at last, and that bike of Simon Wiggs that's underneath Jeremy Doncaster gets roaring away from the start, and the referee has again ruled an unsatisfactory start. And I'll have to admit, I didn't myself see too much wrong at the start, but the camera position was not in line with the riders. Obviously the referee, in a far better position, chose to rule it an unsatisfactory start and calls all 4 riders back to the starting gate. Heat number 12, third time of asking. Morton, Rowan, Doncaster and Nicolaisen. Tapes up, riders away. And this time, Peter Rowan of Denmark hits the front. Jeremy Doncaster riding his captain's bike alongside him, but Rowan takes a look, sees who it is. Chris Morton's there as well. And the English pairing have now settled to the chase. And Morton comes through. And Rowan slides right to the outside, and both the English riders come through. And suddenly England are back in the hunt, 5-1. This is the pairing who were forced out of the earlier race when in a scoring 5-1 position, and now they must be crossing their fingers as they control these bikes. 2 laps to go. Speedway races take about a minute, but for Chris Morton and Jeremy Doncaster, these last 30 seconds of this race are going to seem like about half an hour, because they were in this position before, steering their country back into the match, and the mechanical problems thrust them aside. But Chris Morton has no problems at all, leading well away in heat number 12. Jeremy Doncaster's tucked in behind him. Peter Rowan can make absolutely no progress there, and England have their first 5-1 heat victory, and they are now back in the meeting. They are just 6 points behind with 6 races to go here at Cradley Heath. Heat 13, and with England now struggling back, they're only 6 points behind. We have the interesting confrontation. The world champion Erik Gundersen, his partner in the yellow and black helmet, the unbeaten by an opponent Jan Petersen, the Danes' trump card, against the one pairing that have managed to head Erik Gundersen this afternoon. Simon Wigg and Phil Collins of England. And this English captain, Simon Wigg, coming up against the Danish captain who rides on the outside in the white helmet. Erik Gundersen, Simon Wigg, Jan O. Petersen, and on the inside, Phil Collins. Heat 13, tapes up. And Wig and Gunderson go to the front. Peterson's not in front this time, and Phil Collins is in the front. Peterson's chasing on the inside, Simon Wiggs on the outside, and England are fighting back. England are fighting back, and the two Englishmen are in front. It's the first time that Jan Peterson has seen so much of an English rear wheel this afternoon, and the two Englishmen, former teammates here at Cradley Heath, against two current Cradley Heath riders, Jan Peterson and the world champion at the very back, Erik Gundersen, and he can go nowhere. Simon Wigg leads. Phil Collins in second position, and Jan Peterson is throwing everything into the race to maintain his unbeaten by an opponent reputation this afternoon. But after 4 unbeaten rides, it looks like number 5 could come out unlucky now. Simon Wigg and Phil Collins are half a lap away from England's second successive 5-1 victory, and bringing England right back into the match. Wigg, Collins, Peterson 5-1, and the deficit is only 2 points between the teams as England celebrate on the terraces, in the pits, and these two on the track. Here in Great Britain, we have a scoreline of Denmark 40, England 38, and England have scored 14 points from the last 3 heats, and Denmark only 4. It started to rain now in the Midlands, and the slightly damper conditions seem to have perhaps dampened Danish enthusiasm. They've been unhappy over 1 or 2 false starts, 1 or 2 problems at the starting gate, with Hans Nielsen refusing to obey the starting marshal a couple of races ago and being thrown out in his ear. Should England gain any advantage from this race, they'll either presumably level the scores or even go in front. Chris Morton rides in the red helmet, his partner Jeremy Doncaster in blue, again riding the bike belonging to England captain Simon Wigg. The Danish pairing, the so-called weaker pairing of Preben Eriksson in white and Jon Jorgensen in yellow and black. As we look at it, it's Doncaster, Eriksson, Morton and Jorgensen, heat number 14, and just 2 points between the teams. The tapes go up, and another determined first turn, and this time the Danes again hit the front. Their starting over the afternoon has been marginally better than the English riders, but once again from the back, this pairing of Morton and Doncaster show considerable determination, and they immediately thread their way past Jon Jorgensen. The battle, however, will be to try and catch Preben Eriksson. Eriksson was drafted into the Danish team at the last minute this afternoon. He's born in Odense. He's been riding in this country since 1977 when he came across to join Wolverhampton, and he's still a Wolverhampton rider, although he had a few years at Ipswich in between. Tremendous chasing from Chris Morton. He's lost his red helmet colour, but his English bulldog spirit is still there in this, his 100th cap, and he's trying everything to get past. And Eriksson's riding wider and wider, and Morton's riding wider too, and the two of them are shoulder to shoulder going into the last turn. Morton eases off to try and get through on the inside again, and they're running towards the line, neck and neck. What a finish! Did the referee split them? Oh my goodness, look at that at the very end of the race. And Chris Morton comes immediately to his feet, steps into the melee and says to Preben Eriksson, "A close race, mate, but what was all that about?" Eriksson is under the bike, and the situation at the closest of finishes is that Chris Morton gained the advantage across the line at the moment. Down on the track, he's gained the satisfaction of knowing that his opponent, Preben Eriksson, is all right. And for the second time this afternoon, Eriksson's on the dirt in the first turn, and here come the England pairing. They've drawn the series. The match is now level. Chris Morton's last gasp victory and Jeremy Doncaster's third place give England 4 points, and the teams are level. Moving to heat 16, after Hans Nielsen and Peter Rowan gained a 4-2 advantage in the previous race, we find England's most tenacious pairing, Chris Morton and Jeremy Doncaster, against the world champion Erik Gundersen and his partner Jan Peterson. Morton on the outside, the champion Gundersen moving, edging forward as the tapes went up, and Peterson was the rider who moved Jeremy Doncaster across from a good starting position and joined the champion at the front. Peterson, whose invaluable contribution to the Danish cause this afternoon must not be underrated. Once again doing sterling work in the boiler house there, shifting Jeremy Doncaster out his way, and the Danes, after suffering a tremendous fight back at the beginning of the second half, now look as if they're in a strong position. Club mates Erik Gundersen and Jan Petersen being chased, as always, by Chris Morton, who never ever gives up a chase. And in fact, Morton may be chasing these riders again tonight because they've a club engagement up in Manchester. The world of the professional speedway rider never flags. Erik Gundersen, the world champion, racing for his country and racing for a victory that could mean a long chase for the England pairing over the remaining 2 races. It looks like this could be the heat that Denmark, remember, has given them victory. 5-1 in favour of the Danes. The 17th race of the afternoon, and Denmark need just 3 points from this race to secure victory in the first test match. Kenny Carter, England's #1, wearing the red helmet, must therefore win or see his partner win this race for England to have any chance of maintaining an interest in the match. The riders, John Eskildsen in white, Danish reserve, Kenny Carter in red, in yellow John Jorgensen, and on the inside Karl Blackburn. And from the tapes it looks like England have got the advantage they were seeking. Blackburn, Karl Blackburn is in front, and the Blackbird's flying. His partner Kenny Carter's joined him at the front, and the Danes are tailing off. And instead of the Denmark pairing looking for just 3 points to secure victory from the race, they find themselves eating dirt. Karl Blackburn in front, Kenny Carter is tucked in behind him, having a look over his shoulder just to make absolutely certain there's no pressure from the Danes. And all of a sudden, England's hopes are way up high again. There is 1 race to follow this one. We've got Kenny Carter and Karl Blackburn suddenly producing the goods for the first time this afternoon as appearing for England as they enter their last lap with the Danes chasing, and the Danes really don't look as if they're going to be in too much danger to the English pairing. Carter's now gone to the front, but Karl Blackburn, who hit the front earlier, was the man who made the break and made the difference. Blackburn is flying. Kenny Carter joins him, slowing up as they cross the line. Carter, Blackburn and Jorgensen, 5-1. England are back in the match. Simon Wigg, after watching 17 races in the rain here at Cradley Heath, finds himself in his first match as England's captain, chasing the 4 points or more that are required to save the match. Denmark lead by 2, 52-50, as we enter the 18th and final race in this test match. Simon Wigg in red, the rider in the yellow and black helmet is Peter Rohn, the rider in blue is Phil Collins, and the rider in white is Hans Nielsen. Nielsen was excluded for delaying the start and failing to obey the starting marshal's instructions in Heat 12, and was subsequently fined by the referee for comments made on the matter on the public address system here at the Cradley Heath track. And Nielsen is unhappy with the starting procedures in this vital 18th race as they line up. Wigg, Rohn, Collins and Nielsen. Up for the tapes, and away they go. Nielsen breaks from the inside, Wigg from the outside. Collins is in 3rd place, but they have to catch Nielsen to gain an advantage. And it's the 2 Oxford riders, Simon Wigg and Hans Nielsen. Cradley Heath's Phil Collins, the home track man, is now slotted into 2nd position, but Hans Nielsen is winning the race and winning the match for Denmark as we see it at this point. Hans Nielsen, the main Dane of Speedway, #2 in the world to his teammate and captain Erik Gundersen for the last 2 years, leads with 2 laps to go. He's 2 laps away from victory in the race, and in the match, the first match of the series, Phil Collins is still chasing. He will not give up. The Collins family, famous Speedway names, his brother Peter, a former world champion, Phil, the 3rd in a line of racing brothers, will never give up until the checkered flag is dropped. Nielsen and Phil Collins on their last lap of the track as the race develops around the last turn. Nielsen is leading for Denmark, and they come to the line. Nielsen is the leader and the winner for Denmark. Denmark win the first test by the narrowest possible margin.
Well, you've got to hand it to the English lads for fighting back the way they did. Never once in the lead this afternoon, but taking it right to the last heat, only 2 points in it at the end. 55-53, Denmark take the first test. 4 tests to go. There are the venues for you in case you want to see them. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage this afternoon from Dudley Wood Stadium. It's goodbye.